In this lesson, we're going to be going over how to create eyes in your character. So normally, or ideally, we would be able to load in or create some spheres that represent the eyes and then build up the eyelids around them. But ZBrush Mini does not allow us to add other primitives to the scene like that. So we'll just have to do it manually with sculpting them, which is fine. It's another good way of learning as well. So let's zoom into our eye area. And I have the clay buildup brush. And I'm going to just start filling in the eye socket a bit. Filling it in somewhat evenly, but I am thinking this will be an eyeball eventually. So at this stage I'm not worrying about details. We're thinking more the form as opposed to the details. So again, I'm going from a side view. I want to be able to start to see the eye from this view. I'm going to pull that back the corner of my eye there and maybe bring it out a little bit like that. So another thing to keep in mind, your eyeball doesn't take up your whole socket. So if it did, it would look quite huge. The eyeball only takes up part of the socket. Zoom out, get a feeling for that. Go to the side view again. Maybe smooth it a little. All right, so once it's feeling generally smooth and has the right form, we're never going to be able to sculpt a perfect sphere in this method. And you shouldn't worry about it. Don't worry about making this eyeball perfect eyeball. This is actually going to be probably one of the more time-consuming parts, I think, to get right, because it is the model's eyes. So I'm pushing it in a little bit in the corners because we want to have that little divot to where a corner of our eye goes in. All right, so right now I'm currently okay with that. I'm going to bring back in the cheekbone a little bit there too. So now I'm going to start building up what is going to be the eyelids. So I'm going to go to the clay buildup brush and let's start with the lower lid. So you want to keep a certain thickness to the lids. I think a common mistake is a lot of us do is we make the eyelids too thin. I think it just reads better if the eyelids have a thickness that catches light better. So now I'm starting to flesh out the underside of the eyelid. Again, have the corner of the eye go up around the skull and make a little indentation there where our tear duct is going to be. I'm going to go to a side view and make sure my lower lid is coming out a little farther than the lower half of the eye bag. So there's going to be a lot of smoothing and sharpening and smoothing in this process. I didn't really find any other way to do it just in one shot. You're going to be smoothing and then you'll lose a little detail and you'll add more, bring it back. Again, keeping that thickness. Now I'm starting to think a little bit about the fleshy parts. Again, just using the clay buildup brush. Okay, so now I'm going to start adding the upper lid. I'm just going to fill in a little bit of that indentation there. And I'm also starting to think about the expression. This character is going to be grimacing, so its eyes are going to be slightly squinted. So the upper lid overlaps the lower lid. Again, thinking about that eye corner. Do a little smoothing. Let me go to the side. So the upper lid should be a little farther out than the lower lid. And again, even if you're doing a creature, I think it's important to keep these things in mind. It'll just make everything that much more believable. Let's go back to the clay buildup. So now I'm going to go to the slash brush, and I'm just going to indicate that tear duct area. Also indicate the deepening around the tear duct for the eye. You could do it on the outer corner as well, although it's less pronounced. Now I just got the inflate brush, just puffing out the front of the eye where the cornea would be. Let me zoom out. I'm going to go to the move brush, see if I could straighten up some of these lines. So I'm going to bring the corner of the lids a little higher than the lower lid. And I'm going to bring up the upper lid, make it look a little more closed. I'm also going to start adding a little bit more flesh around the upper part of the eye socket and the brow. You can see it's kind of low polygon right there, so I'm just adding a few strokes to add some more polygons to it and then smoothing it out. I'm going to widen my brush size a bit and then smooth it out. Go back to the move tool. Again, look at it from all angles. Like I said, we won't be able to create a perfect sphere, but you want to have the feeling as best you can that it is a sphere in there. Go back to my clay buildup. Just going to carve out a little more in the inner eye. Here's another use for the slash brush, but holding down the Alt or Option key, it'll do the inverse, and it can give us a little bit more of a lid. Now I'm just using the regular slash brush to create that upper eyelid overhang. Adding a little more definition around the eyelid. So this is a good time to point out that you can see our polygon count is at 259,000. I'm just going to test it out and click on the low, which will bring it down to 150K. Now I'm going to see if anything changes that I notice, and if not, so didn't seem like I lost anything, and I'm at a much lower polygon count. So again, keep checking that as you go along. Go back to my clay buildup brush. Adding a little bit more flesh in that area. And you may or may not want to do that. You may want to have a character with very hollow sockets. But zoom out, see how it's looking. I'm not crazy about the corners there. I'm actually going to move my eyes out like that. Make them a little farther apart, a little smaller. Again, we'll be going back to this area later, just in the detailing stage. But you want to get the forms just right. Another useful tool for this area is the pinch brush. So you can get even more of a crease around the eyelid, make it look a little sharper. Going back to the slash brush, going to reintroduce some separation there between the eye and the eyelid. Smooth out some of that in there, and just going to add a little bit of fleshiness around that tear duct and a little bit of definition around that upper lid. So that's looking a little better to me. We can even go in and indicate the tear duct, or give that little bit of little bump that appears in the eyelid. And a little bit of adjustment, and I think I'll call this bit done for now. Give him a little bit of a squintier expression. Let me smooth out that upper lid area. Alright, so for this lesson, I think that's as far as I'm going to take the eyeball. I'll let you go and work on your eyeball and your character. And we'll meet in the next lesson, and we'll go over the mouth and the teeth area and the nose. See you then.